Come on in. Let's see what happens today. I can't even imagine. Almost anything could happen today. Boom, 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 boom. Let's get your comments working. Your comments will be the star of the show today. Boom, 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 boom. Doesn't work without notes. Hey, shut up, Scott. That's another recording of me. Don't need that. That's enough of me. We might take a few questions today and talk about what's going on. You may have heard. Anyway, welcome to the highlight of human civilization. It's called Coffee with Scott Adams. You've never had a better time. But if you'd like to, take a chance on elevating this experience up to levels that nobody can understand with their tiny, shiny human brains. All you need for that is a copper mug or a glass, a tankard, chalice, a stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure. Dopamine. Oh, you're so right. The dopamine high. No, the dopamine. The dopamine blast of the day. I'm super high right now. Sorry about that. Medicinally, though, doctor's orders. Got some painkillers in me. You may have heard I'm dying of metastatic prostate cancer, but unless you slept all of yesterday, did any of you sleep all of yesterday and miss the trouble I caused? I caused so much trouble yesterday, but it worked out, maybe. I'll give you an update. So some of you know the story that over the summer, when the news came out that I was declining, President Trump called me home and blew my mind. But one of the things he offered was he said that if you need anything, let me know. But of course, you have to be careful about, does he really mean that? Does he really mean if you need anything, let me know? He's running the whole country and some would say part of the world. That doesn't seem like something a president could possibly do. But when things aren't working out and you got to try all the doors, I sort of reached the end of one rope, which was I wasn't sure I was getting any health care at all. I might have been. I still don't know. But what I don't know is if they'd even started the process to get me that potentially life-saving drug that I've been trying to get. And so I wrote a message saying that on Sunday I wrote that I would be asking the president on Monday. Now that would be today. But as you know, President Trump likes to do things ahead of schedule and better than you expected and ahead of schedule. What is it? Below budget, ahead of schedule. And I don't know who he talked to first, but I feel like a lot of things went in motion at the same time. So I was contacted by Don Jr., who was literally in Africa. He's in Africa on a Sunday, and Don Jr. is calling me and saying, "Leah, I'm on this. My father wants me to, get this done." Then Bobby Kennedy calls me. Like, what can I do? What's the situation? Dr. Oz calls me. Dr. Oz, what's the situation? How can I help? Oh my God. And then you may have seen that President Trump, best president ever, he posted my message to him that was on X yesterday. It was a public message. And he just said, on it, on it. He was so on it. Oh my God, was he on it? Anyway, it turns out that it turns out that nobody in senior management at Kaiser, my healthcare my healthcare company had a good weekend. They probably thought, "Oh, it's nice to have a Sunday off for a change." They probably work pretty hard. I imagine they work pretty hard. And suddenly their entire Sunday is absorbed by this. Oh, I feel bad about it, but good about it because it might have saved my life. I mean, there's a very good chance. Seriously? Must be that would be the Kremlin. Oh, I have a phone. I can't reach. Huh. Well, if I could reach that phone, that'd be great. I could throw a book at it. No, I guess it's done. Same phone number for 10 years. Nobody's ever called that during the show. Anyway, that nobody would know that phone number. Nobody's calling they would have called my cell if it was anything. Anyway, so here's the update. The update is I don't want to give you too much detail on my actual medical treatment yet, but I will. So let me tell you what I'm going to do. I'll give you lots of information about the medical path eventually. I'll just tell you that it's under control now. So all wheels are moving in the positive direction. I have extra help beyond Kaiser. I have extra help, and I'll tell you a lot more about that. If it works, because it will be more than Pluvictin, I just want to get permission before I talk about it. I don't have permission to talk about it, so if I did, I would. So, but I'll be doing probably the very best thing that anybody could ever try, a combination of things. So that's the good news, but it'll probably take a few weeks, maybe a week or two, I don't know, before the first thing happens, and then we'll see what happens. So I thought I'd come on here because I very much didn't think I was going to do a live stream today because I didn't think I could physically do it. I'm in still in a lot of pain, and I've been taking painkillers since I woke up at midnight. I've already done one long live stream today, drawing. I did a drawing live stream for the locals people. So they're the only ones who can see that one. So if you're on locals and you didn't know, there's another lengthy drawing where I try to fight off my cats and draw Dilbert at the same time. So, there's a reason that the Pluvicto can't be administered the day you ask for it. Turns out that not only does it have to be administered in a special nuclear medicine environment, so you can't just do it in a doctor's office, but it also has to be tuned to your situation. So not everybody gets a different dose or a different formulation, not a different dose. They get a different formulation within the same range. So it would have to be tuned for me specifically. And that takes 2 weeks, but they're going to try to speed it up. So maybe one. We'll see. Yeah, it's nuclear medicine. Took the nuclear option. You're right. You're right. So here was my one complaint. And it could be that it's only a communication thing, and it could be only because my doctor was gone for 2 weeks. My oncologist was gone for 2 weeks. Now, I do believe everybody gets to have a vacation. So I'm very torn about this. If you need a doctor, you want your doctor to never go on vacation. On the other hand, human beings have to go on vacation. I can't complain about it. I cannot like it. But it's hard to complain about somebody taking a vacation when everybody in the world takes a vacation. So it may be that I just didn't know they were working on it. But I believe that they had to interview me first. So this morning, as soon as I'm done with this, I've got I've got an appointment to talk to their expert, and I think that's how it starts. So my issue was I didn't know if the process had started. It wasn't that it wasn't done. I couldn't confirm it had started, which is way more distressing if you don't know how to get to and you're not sure it even started. So, but I think, and I still don't know if this is true or not, I think that today it starts. I think. So I'm still not even 100% sure if it's going to start, if you can imagine that. I'm pretty sure it will today because of all the noise I made, but it should. Anyway, I will be everybody's practice animal. They can see how well it works on me, and if it works on me, well, we'll see. And like I said, it's yeah, there will be more to it than Pluvictin. I just need permission to talk about that, and then I'll yak about it so much you'll be sick of it. What would that be? Oh, huh. Looks like my appointment at Kaiser just changed. Or are there two appointments? Don't know. I guess I'll find out. But since you're here, I thought I would read you some reframes at least. No? You want some reframes? From my book, Reframe Your Brain. Man, do I need that. Boo, boo, boo. Yeah, yeah, right. Trump was not on vacation. Damn right. Damn right. He wasn't on vacation. And Don Jr., I don't know if he was on vacation or he was just in Africa for business or what, but he got back to me from Africa. From Africa. Okay. Let's see what else we got there. Oh, here's one of the most important ones in the entire world. So the usual frame, if you're, let's say, analyzing somebody's performance, let's say you're the boss or you're in some position, maybe you're a spouse, but you're in some position to have an opinion on somebody else's performance in any domain, whatever the performance is. The normal way that people approach that is to tell you what you did wrong. Am I right? Hey, if you'd done this differently, looks like you did that wrong. Here's the right way to do that. What will that do to people? Well, it will actually make them better in some cases because they'll stop doing the thing that's wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that, stopping doing the things that are wrong. But the reframe, which is even more powerful, is you tell people what they did right, and the rest takes care of itself. And this is sort of a magic trick. You would not believe that if you simply make somebody feel good about what they're doing, and you say, wow, that was great, that part of what you did is really amazing, etc., they will end up fixing the thing you didn't even mention because they'll be so inspired and enjoy it so much. They'll be like, ooh, every time I can do something a little better, I get a little praise. So you would, wife trick. So telling people what they did right is like a nuclear weapon. Telling them what they did wrong might be like artillery. Really strong, and you could probably win a war with the artillery, but it's not nuclear. It's not nuclear. So yeah, tell people what they did right. That is your lesson for the day. But you know what? You've been so nice to me. How many people are actually watching this? 1,000 on Rumble. 34,000 watching this. That's pretty big. Well, then you deserve another reframe. Oh, this one's good. Okay, you're lucky. We got to the good stuff. This one could change your whole life. By the way, if you're not familiar with the reframe concept, I'm a trained hypnotist. So when I write a reframe, I'm doing it from a position of some skill. And the beauty of a reframe is that you don't have to like keep a diary or go to a therapy or talk it through. You don't have to do exercises. You don't have to eat different. You literally just have to hear it once. So my claim is that a reframe will change your life if, and this if is the important part, it's the one you needed. If it's one you didn't need, it probably you won't even remember it. But if it's one that you're like, oh, that's the one I needed, it will change your whole life. It will rewire your brain, and it will do it instantly and with no effort on your part whatsoever. That's my claim. Now, until it happens to you, and it probably will if you stick with me and I keep reading these, until it happens to you, you won't believe that's necessarily possible. But once it happens, you're gonna be such a you're gonna be so sold on reframes that you'll be talking about it to all your friends until they're sick of it. All right. So have I built that up? This might be the strongest reframe you'll ever hear. The usual frame, the old way of thinking, is that if things are going wrong, the universe is acting against you. Have you ever thought that? Have you ever thought, my God, the whole universe is acting against me? Nobody could have this much bad luck, one thing after another, right? Ever have that? Very, very suboptimal way of seeing your world. Now I'm gonna reframe it. The universe owes me. Kaiser is just lighting up my phone today. They're just setting up. I think they're setting up appointments. That's what all that beeping is. So again, since I got interrupted by Kaiser, the universe is acting against me will make you feel like you're a loser. Make you feel like quitting. But if you think that the universe owes you, which is exactly what I think, if you had a bad childhood, the universe owes you. If you had a bad divorce, the universe owes you. It's your turn. It is almost impossible for anybody to have bad luck all the time. So if you have a string of bad luck, it is the surest sign that some good luck is on the way. Does that make sense? Because luck always gets to the average. People have average luck over time. In any small period of time, they might have extraordinary luck or bad luck. But over time, it's definitely going to go back to something like average. So if you're in one of those, man, I can't believe how bad this is, this week, it's the surest sign that the universe owes you, and it's going to pay you off. It's the law of odds. The universe couldn't change itself if it wanted to. It is absolutely bound by the odds, and it owes you. All right, now let me check in with you. How many of you were feeling that the universe was just kicking your ass, and when I told you that the universe owes you, you could feel it? Actually feel it, like some kind of a physical sensation. I don't know how you would describe it. Maybe tingles, maybe something in your chest. You could feel this one, can't you? You see what I'm doing? I'm just taking the persuasion. I'm just pushing it a little extra because it's good for you. You like it. There you go. There you go. Oh, here's a good one. Damn, these are good. So the usual frame, this is one you've heard before, but no matter how many times you hear it, it's not enough. And no matter how many times you hear it, it's not enough. The old way of thinking about luck is that it's random and can't be managed. How many of you think that luck, by definition, which would be a reasonable thing to, it would be reasonable that you thought that luck is completely random and therefore it can't be managed. So you're just, you're a victim of chance. Well, that's the old way of thinking. Here's a reframe. You can go where there's more luck. You can go where there's more luck. If you wanted to be an entrepreneur and you made the mistake of moving to the desert and you didn't even have neighbors and there was no jobs there, how much luck would you have? It wouldn't work out. But if you wanted to be an entrepreneur and you moved to the Bay Area and you did all the things that network and meet people and take the right jobs and go work for the right company and learn the right skills, yeah, you can totally manage your luck. Are you kidding me? Luck might be the easiest thing you could ever manage. You just do all the things. You just do all the things that bring luck, like be around successful people, build your talent stack, have a system instead of a goal. Absolutely, you can control luck. Absolutely. All right. All right, here's one that's more about just not. This one's very relevant to me. So the usual old frame is that if you're having some bad luck, you think that you're unusually unlucky because it happened to you. You think of all the things that could happen to anybody, and then you think, oh man, why are all these things happening to me? Why me? Why do I have all these problems? That's the old way of thinking. Here's the reframe. The reframe is everyone has problems. Everyone has problems. Just the fact that you don't know somebody else's problem, that's pretty gutsy of you to think that your problem's bigger than theirs. You don't know their problems. You don't know anything about people's problems. The really big ones they keep to themselves. Sometimes you can see it if it's a physical thing, like in my case. But generally speaking, people's battle is inside their head. And that can be quite a fierce battle. You don't know what's going on in there. So the moment you think, why me? Why me? The reframe is everybody's got problems. You don't have the special problems. What makes your problem so special? And weirdly, it makes you feel better because you don't feel targeted. You still have the same number of problems, but you don't feel targeted by the universe, which is worth something. Because if you don't feel targeted by the universe, then it's going to be much easier to use the earlier reframe where you say, I'm just going to make something happen. All right. Is anybody enjoying this yet? I want to see if I should do more of these or we should pivot. Today's experimental. And if I'm being perfectly transparent, there are, I guess, 3 reasons I'm doing this today, despite being near death and not feeling good at all. Don't feel good at all, in a lot of pain. It's a really good distraction for me. So when I'm distracted, I'm not in pain. And my favorite distraction, the best distraction you could ever have, is that you're doing something that's useful for somebody else, right? So I'm trying to do something that's useful for you guys because that will make me distracted and feel good. So it's selfish, but it's symbiotic. A little symbiosis going on here. All right. The other reason is that I'm like a tuna. I am so trained to work at this time of day that I was downstairs 15 minutes before going live saying to myself, I guess I'll just skip today. And then something happened, like some kind of tuna instinct. And the next thing I know, I'm pushing my little walker. Yeah, I sit in it and push it backwards toward the elevator. Next thing I know, I got a cup of coffee. The next thing I know, I'm live. It's like there's some kind of instinct or habit that's been so deeply, ingrained in me, I couldn't help it. So there's that. And then the third reason, do you know what the third reason is? One is this a distraction. 2 is that is habit. And 3 is I love you madly. That's it. I just love you madly. So spending time with all of you is just great every single time. All right. Let's do another one. Oh, here's one from my mom. So if my siblings are watching, you'll recognize this one. Do you know how everybody in the world says things should be fair? Everything should be fair. Oh, that's not fair. It's not fair. Politicians say it. Children say it. I jokingly sometimes say that fairness was invented so that idiots and children could have something to talk about. Have you ever heard me say that? Fairness was invented so idiots and children would have something to talk about. That's not fair, right? But so everybody thinks that fairness is a desirable trait, correct? Probably every one of you would agree with the statement, it's better to be fair than to be unfair. I think every one of you would agree, except my mother, my dearly departed mother. What she taught me was that fairness is sort of the enemy of success. and that you should strive to get more than other people. And if you're shooting for fairness, you're a sucker. No, she didn't use those words. I'm making up all those words. But in essence, old Virginia Adams, she wanted you to try as hard as you could and do your best possible work, so that you could have the best possible, benefit from your work. Why would she want me to play for a tie? Why would your mother want you to play for a tie? No, she wanted me to win. She didn't want me to play for a tie. Fairness is the enemy of success. Anyway, she never used those words. I sort of put those in her mouth. But she certainly was on the concept. Here's another one, more relative to the artists. How many of you are artists, either for a hobby or for your job? Show me the artists. Got a lot of artists. We often have a lot of artists. The people who most follow me are lawyers, medical people, engineers, and artists. More than anybody else. Look at all the artists. Damn, look at all you. That's a lot of artists. There are more on locals than there are on YouTube. A lot of them on locals. Look at all that. Wow, a lot of artists. It's good to see you, artists. All right, here's your reframe for the artists. Generally speaking, you would, let's say if you're not a good artist, this would be your frame. For those who are good artists, you have probably already discovered what I'm about to reframe. So this might be for the people who are not as accomplished as all of you are. You would think that, here's the old frame. The old frame would be you want to avoid mistakes, right? It doesn't matter what you're doing. It doesn't matter if you're doing art or music or what. You want to avoid mistakes. Duh. Everybody wants to avoid mistakes. But that's the old way of thinking. Here's the reframe. Invite mistakes into your art and keep the good ones. Invite mistakes into your art and then keep the good ones. And the reason that you do it that way is that you can't always anticipate what the art will feel like until you do it. You have to do it and then feel it. And then if you feel it and it feels right, but it looks wrong, you keep it. Did you hear that? It looks wrong, but it feels right. It looks wrong, but it feels right, so you keep it. That's art. All right. Oh, these are all gems. I don't know why this isn't a more popular book. I'm completely aware of the fact that this is having a big impact on the lives of the people who happen to be here today. You kind of got lucky. And I say that with all due humility. The reframes are doing the work, not me. I'm just reading. But they are powerful. And if you endure, a couple dozen of these, the odds of it changing your life are really good. Really good. All right, here's the next one. Have you ever been tasked with coming up with a good idea? You knew you needed a good idea. Maybe it was your job to come up with a good idea, but you didn't have one. So the old frame is that you need to come up with a good idea. So it's the come up with that's the active part. You're coming up with it. You're inventing it out of nothing. But that's an old frame. Here's the better one. I need to release all my bad ideas as quickly as possible. Sounds like the opposite, doesn't it? So instead of coming up with a good idea, you focus on releasing the bad ideas. Meaning that if you keep thinking of a bad idea and it's stuck in your head, It's more important to get rid of that bad idea because a new idea will come in automatically. Ideas come in, well, if you're a creative person at all, creative ideas will come in automatically as long as there's a landing space. So you have to like clear the landing space. It's less important that you're producing ideas, producing. It's more important that you're getting rid of them because you're producing so many. And if the old ones are getting in the way, they'll really slow you down. So get rid of the old ones. Excuse me. All right, here's one. Do you ever have that? What's it called when you feel like an imposter at your job? That would be imposter syndrome. I always confuse that with Dunning-Kruger, but Dunning-Kruger's different. It's just imposter syndrome, right? So if you have imposter syndrome where you think, I'm just faking it, everybody else seems like they know what they're doing, but I hope they don't find out I'm just faking it. So almost everybody will have the imposter feeling at one time or another. So the old frame is, I feel like an imposter at my job. Here's a reframe for feeling like an imposter. You ready for this? This will completely wipe that away. If you've ever had imposter syndrome, I'm going to remove it forever now with one sentence. Do you think I can do it? With one sentence, I will cure forever if you have the feeling that you're ever an imposter. Here it comes. Everyone is an imposter. And we're done. Everyone's an imposter. There's no such thing as the non-imposter. Everybody is pretending to be a little bit better than they are. Some are pretending to be a lot better. Some are pretending to be a little bit better. But everyone's an imposter. And they also, if they're smart at all, they know they're an imposter. They know you're an imposter. But here's the important part. They know you know they're an imposter. As soon as you think there's such a thing as imposters and non-imposters, well, then you're in trouble because you won't have any way to certify that you're not the imposter because we all feel like imposters. But as soon as you realize that everyone's an imposter, it's not like, well, here, let's divide them up. We got a bunch of imposters over here and a bunch of real ones over here. No, they're all imposters, just different degrees. Yeah. All right, that will change some lives. All right. All right. Well, here's a useful one. So this one would be almost the basis of maybe, I don't know, half of all mental health technique. So this one will look familiar, but the more you remind yourself of it, the more useful it is. So the old frame would be that the way your mood is determined is by your internal thoughts. If you're in a bad mood, probably your internal thoughts are bad. If you're depressed or anxious or whatever, it's because your thoughts, your internal thoughts are bad, or suboptimal. But here's the reframe. You can improve your mood by completing meaningful tasks. You can improve your mood by completing meaningful tasks. That's it. Just get some work done. Get something done. Everybody feels better when they get something done. Maybe just cleaning the house. But if you do something meaningful, especially if it's meaningful toward your future, such as signing up for college classes or increasing your talent stack or something like that, it's all going to be good. All right. So you can improve your mood by completing, but more generally, you can improve your internal feeling by changing what your body is doing. Because I always tell you, your body is your brain. This is that. Your body is your brain. If you take your body and go for a run, your brain will feel better. If you, if you do anything that's good for your body will reward you, and your brain will like it. All right. Here's one that maybe this one won't. This won't help you too much, but it made me feel good. The old frame is that some kind of art is good and some kind of art is bad. Would you agree that that's basic? Some art is good, some art is bad. Everybody would agree with that? Nope. That's an old frame. Sorry, for some reason my nose is running. So the old frame is that some art is good and some is bad. Here's my reframe, and again, this is purely this is self-serving as hell. If there's a market for the art, it's good art. That's my reframe. My reframe is somebody going to buy it? If somebody's going to buy it, it's good art. If they would only be willing to look at it if you bought it, I'm not so sure that's good art. So the reason I think that this is funny is that my art would often be considered substandard, but it is highly purchased. You know what I mean? So Dilbert is not considered a Mona Lisa kind of work of art. But people buy it. So you tell me. If people are going to put their money on it, isn't that a better sign that there's some art going on? All right, that one's just for me. Here's what I've taught you before, but again, every time you hear this, it's more powerful. The old way of thinking of things is that if you create something, let's say you make a TV show or a song or something, and somebody praises it, could be a product, but somebody praises it, you've got something good. Would you agree? If you make a thing, whatever the thing is, and then people say good things about it, you've got a hit, right? Nope. Nope. What people say about your creation is almost unrelated to its potential success. Instead, the reframe is only action predicts a hit, not words. So you want to watch for people to extend or modify your creation. Does that make sense? I'll give you an example. When Dilbert first launched, a lot of people said, "Oh, I like that," and some people said, "I don't like that." But the words were not really predictive. Some liked it, some didn't. Probably more didn't than did. But at the same time that people were talking about it, the part that's not predictive, there were other people who were making their own Dilbert books by taking my comics and cutting them out, organizing them by theme, and then putting them in a binder and effectively making their own book. Now, the first time I heard somebody do that, I go, really? You literally have been cutting them all out, organizing them, and making your own book? Yes. And then I heard somebody else do it. So completely unrelated. Somebody who had nothing to do with the first person. And I thought, really? There are two people in the world who would make their own book and of the scraps of comics I'm making? And then it turned into, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people. If you have multiple people who are taking your product and turning it into some form of a related product like the book, that is 100% predictable that you have a hit. What people do is really predictive. What people say, well, we say a lot of stuff, but we don't spend our time on anything that we think is not worth the time. But we'll talk about things that aren't too important. We'll lie, but nobody lies by making a Dilbert book, right? There's nobody who ever woke up and said, I'm going to fool people by making a Dilbert book when there's not a Dilbert book. This was before there was no Dilbert book. So yeah, so watch what they do, not what they say. Here's one for writers. Anybody have writer's block? If you have writer's block, next 2 reframes are for you, okay? If you have writer's block, you often say to yourself while you're sitting there, I have writer's block. The worst thing you could do is sit there with writer's block and say, I have writer's block. So I deny that it exists. That's part of my technique. That's not the reframe. I'm just telling you. I deny that it exists. I have been personally asked, do I get any kind of writer's block? It's probably the single most frequent question I've ever been asked. Do you ever get any writer's block? Do you know what I always say? Nope, never. Not once. It's not even a thing. As soon as you allow that it's a thing, it kind of becomes a thing. But let me tell you the reframe so it'll never be a thing. You ready? I will solve writer's block for you right now. So instead of saying I have writer's block, the first thing, this is just one of two reframes. Instead of saying you have writer's block, say I'm trying to write at the wrong time of day. It's the wrong time of day. Because I can tell you that I can write at early in the morning. I have no writer's block ever. But by mid-afternoon, I might be tired. So I might be trying to write at the wrong time of day. It's not really a writer's block. That would be a time of day problem. So you solve the time of day problem, not the writer's block problem. The other reframe is I might be in the wrong environment for writing. So I've told you too many times that when I go to Starbucks, as soon as I sit down in Starbucks, all writer's block goes away. Now, I can't say that works for everybody because it's sort of magical the way it works even for me. But there's something about the time and place and the environment and the noise and the sound and the smell, the familiarity. I don't know what it's all about. But sometimes it's the time of day. Sometimes it's where you are. Likewise, when I go to Hawaii, which I probably won't do again, but when I went to Hawaii, I would get so much good work done. Because if you sit on a balcony looking at the beach in Hawaii, you don't ever want to leave, but you don't have anything to do except work. So it turns out that the work becomes so fun that you just don't have any writer's block at all. All right, here's the payoff. So the first few were good writer's block reframes, but they don't get you there. This is the one that's going to bring you across the finish line. You ready? Instead of thinking I can't think of anything good to write, think I can write something bad and fix it. The reason that you don't write something on the page is not exactly because you can't think of anything. Everybody can think of something. It's just that you don't think it would be worth writing down. So instead of judging it before you write it down first. Then you look at it. If you don't like it, you delete it, or you edit it, or you change a word. But it's way easier to tweak something that's already on the page than it is to put something on the page. And the moment you realize that you can write something bad, that's totally allowed. It's completely allowed to write something that you won't ultimately use. You can write anything. Nobody's watching. And if you write something bad, it's more likely to suggest something to you that's not bad. You just have to do something. So the do something is the key part of not having writer's block. So if you were to watch me writing like over my shoulder and I didn't know you were there, you would see me write a sentence, delete it, write a sentence, delete it, write a sentence, delete it. And I'm a professional writer. You would imagine that I could write the sentence I want and then move on. It doesn't really work that way. It's way easier to tweak than it is to just know the right thing. All right. How are we doing? 7:43. Is everybody still having fun? Well, I'm changing lives. Do we really have 84,000 people watching this live? That's not even counting X. X is usually 30,000, so that would be about 100,000 people watching it live. I guess I should have done this before. If you're just joining, I did give a health update in the beginning of the stream. If you want to go back and you could catch up on that. But since I'm not prepared and not feeling good today, I'm reading out of my book, Reframe Your Brain, and I decided I would change some lives while I'm here. And don't have much of a plan except that I'm going to do that. All right, we'll do it live. All right, these are the mental health reframes. Now we're into some good stuff. Did you ever have? Well, I've done this one before in a number of ways, but the more ways I do it, the better it is. Did you ever think that you are your inner thoughts? Sometimes I say that. I think my Akira the Don song says something like that, that you are your inner thoughts. How many of you think that who you really are, the real you, is what you're secretly thinking that maybe not everybody knows? Is that who you are? Are you your secret thoughts? It feels like it, doesn't it? Well, that would be the normal way of thinking of things. But I'm going to give you the Dr. Laura reframe that blew my mind when I heard it years ago. Instead of you are what you think, you are what you do. You are what you do. Now, this might confuse you because the Akira the Don song that features my podcasting voice put to music, which is recently released, I say, what do I say? That you are what you think about the most. Now, that would be confusing, wouldn't it? I said you are what you do, not your inner thoughts. But I also said you are what you think about the most. The way to reconcile that is that the you are what you think about the most is in the context of you can change what you do, which is what you think about. So thinking is doing. So if you consciously change the amount of time you're thinking negative thoughts, and you consciously make sure, no, that was a negative thought. Let me throw in some positive thoughts. Well, then you can actually change who you are to a happier person, for example, less neurotic. But generally speaking, you are what you do. So if you have some bad thoughts about people that you never mention, but you save babies from a burning building, you're still the person who saved the baby from the burning building. That's way more who you are than the secret thoughts that you didn't tell anybody. So you are what you do. If you want to be a better person, do better things. Do something nice for somebody. If you want to be popular, do something nice for somebody. All right. Here's one. How many of you have ever thought, or maybe gagged when you heard somebody else say it, that they were trying to find themselves? I need to find myself. I need to figure out who I am. Bad idea. Here's the reframe. Instead of being an explorer and trying to figure out who you are, how about authoring yourself to be what you want to be? You can author your situation. You don't have to discover who you are. You can make yourself who you want to be. That's one of the great things about human life, is that you don't have to be. You don't have to be anything. You can author yourself into almost any kind of situation. Obviously, you can't author yourself $1 billion just because you want to. Maybe some people can. But I love these words. Instead of finding yourself, author yourself. That's very powerful if you take that to heart. Author yourself. Because sometimes we forget that we have that power, that we can turn ourselves into whatever we need to turn ourselves into. All right. Here's a good one. So, if you tend to be judgmental, does anybody have that problem? Is there anybody here who tends to be too judgmental and you know it's hurting you because people don't like it, and maybe you don't like it either, but you're just too judgmental? All right. Yes. All right. If you're judgmental, here's a reframe for you. Instead of the usual frame for judging people, which is that some people are good and some are not, it would make more sense to say we're all flawed and we're all good at different things. We're all flawed and we're all good at different things. Isn't that fair? It's not like you're the good one and the person you're judging is the bad one. You don't think you've got some flaws? What is that? I'm getting many phone calls from people I don't know. All right. So let me finish that one up. Yeah, people are flawed, but in general, almost everybody that you're judging is going to be better than you at least one thing. Almost inevitably, no matter how much you judge somebody, there's probably at least one thing that they're just better at you. So don't be so judgy. Um, Here's one. Your critics are evil monsters. Do you ever think that about your critics, the people who don't like you? They're evil monsters. Well, I like to reframe my critics as my mascots. You've heard me do that. If somebody's enough of a critic that they can't leave you alone and they just make it their life's work to criticize you specifically, just stop calling them a critic and stop calling them anything else. Really? It's funny. The phone's not even ringing and it's doing that. I better see if any of these look like. All right. Okay. Don't know most of those people. Something's going on. All right. How about this? Here's one on criticism. If you hate criticism, does anybody hate being criticized? If I get criticized, it's just a Monday. Doesn't mean anything because I do this for a living. But if you get criticized, it probably stings. I'll bet you. Nobody likes being criticized. But the old way of thinking of criticism is it feels like a dagger to your heart. Like, oh, I hate that criticism. It's like a dagger to my heart. Here's a reframe. Criticism is a chemical reaction in the skull of someone who isn't in the room. Criticism is based on a chemical reaction in the skull of someone who isn't even in the room with you now. It could not be less important. If it were in the room with you, maybe. But if they're not in the room with you, all that's happening is there's like this little, this little, I don't know, recipe that's boiling in their head. It's something happening in their head. It's no more meaningful than if you walked by the stove and some water was boiling, and you'd be like, "Hey, there's some water in that bucket, and it's boiling." Well, that's all that's happening with your critic, except that instead of the bucket, it's a skull, and instead of boiling water, it's just their brain chemistry is doing whatever. It has nothing to do with you. It just doesn't have anything to do with you. It's just some chemicals boiling around inside a skull that's not in the room. That's it. All right. Here's one. I've been hearing other people talk about this more as well, because once you hear it, it's so useful. You'll end up saying the same thing. Here's the one that is most likely that you will use and tell to somebody else. I think the most likely. So the usual frame, and we all fall into this, is that everybody's thinking about us. Do you ever think that? You think, oh my God, they're judging me. They're thinking about that mistake I made. They're watching me. Nobody's watching you. Nobody cares. Maybe if you're, I don't know, in 7th grade or something. But if you're an adult, people aren't really paying too much attention to you. So as soon as you imagine that other people care, probably not about whatever it is you're worrying about. I mean, they might care in various ways, but not about whatever you're fretting about. They're not thinking about you at all. Once you realize that people don't really think about you, it really makes everything easier. You won't get embarrassed. Even if you did get embarrassed, you'd be like, okay, they will care about that for 10, 9, 8, done. You might care about it for longer, but you don't need to because they don't care. If they don't care, why would you care? Even after they've said it. So nobody cares. It's easier. Your critics, obviously your loved ones care about you, but your critics, they're not really thinking about you too much. All right. Here's a good one. Is there anybody here who's a germaphobe? I actually have a reframe that can cure a germaphobe. Again, not every person, every time, but for some people, some of the time, it will cure a germaphobe. And this is one that cured me. Instead of thinking that germs will harm me, because of course germs will have the potential to harm you. Now, when I say germs, I'm talking about really anything that you don't want to get on you, but I'm just using a generic germs. Instead of saying that germs will harm you, I actually say this. This is like a real thing. I say germs make me stronger. And you've probably seen some science that if you were a kid and you grew up in a sterile environment, you would not be ready for the real world because you hadn't been exposed to enough germs and cooties. So germs is how you tune your body. And I literally tell myself, oh, there's no problem getting some extra germs because I'll just be tuning my defenses. And it went from, oh my God, I don't want a germ, germs, to, all right, load it up, stronger today than I was yesterday. And it's remarkable how easy it is to go from these germs are going to be the end of me to these germs are tuning me up and making me stronger. You just sort of have to repeat it and it just becomes true. So that's what's happening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you have been so nice to stick with me through this. We're approaching the top of the hour. I know some of you have something to do. I've got to get ready for my long day of medical everything. I got problems. It was wonderful to spend time with you because, as I told you, it takes my mind off of my physical pain, which is kind of bad. And I get to spend the best time of my day, which is with all of you awesome people. And I also know that even though I haven't met most of you in person, that it actually means something to you when I tell you that you're my beloved and how much I enjoy spending time with you. It's all true. It's all true. I wouldn't say it. And I know that that gives you a little boost. So that's how you can start your day. And you certainly give me a boost. My God, you give me a boost. I could not be more appreciative of not only my audience here, but if you came in later, I could not be more appreciative of President Trump, Don Jr., Bobby Kennedy, Dr. Oz, and I'll have some more people to name later, but I want to make sure I have permission. And they've been amazing. Dr. Drew, of course, always my friend, and a number of other people. If I didn't mention somebody, it doesn't mean anything. I got contacted by so many people yesterday, and it's all very meaningful to me in ways that you can't even imagine. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is what we have today. I don't know if I'll be back tomorrow. Honestly, I don't know how long I can do this. But for today, that was your show. And we'll get back to the news maybe sometime soon. All right. Closing down.